בן,
ג'ייקוב,
מה שלומך?
בסדר, מה קורה?
הכל בסדר, אני חושב. So we finished chapter 11, right?
We finished chapter 11.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite the chapter. It spanned months of work.
It did. Okay, so we're on chapter 12. בדרכי קניית הנקיות.
Right, so you spoke about the details of cleanliness, so now we're talking about how to acquire it.
Yes. הנה האמצעי האמיתי לקנות נקיות. The true way of acquiring cleanliness הוא התמדת הקריאה בדברי חכמים ז"ל. It is constantly studying the words of our sages of blessed memory. אם בענייני הלכות, בענייני המוסריים, whether it be with regards to the Jewish legal aspects or regarding the ethical aspects. Interesting. I expected him to say בענייני אגדות, but I guess not.
Wait, what? Okay.
So usually when we talk about the two divisions of the teachings of Chazal, we talk about halachot and agadot. But he says halachot and inyanei musariim.
I guess interesting. I mean, but I guess when you talk about midrash, like agadata, agadot, I guess the value what you get from agadot is musar. It's not alachai. You don't paskin alachai from midrash.
I have to say, if I had a little bit more chutzpah than I do, I would accuse the Ramchal of being a little modernist and not properly valuing the worth of narrative.
Well, I mean, you could. I mean, but I don't know if you would call him. I mean, you would call the Rambam modernist too, right? The Midrash. I mean, you would call a lot of the Sephardic tradition modernist because it's right. It's there's a division of right. Paskin based on Kabbalah or Midrash.
Right. Chok leIsrael. No, there are definitely other Sephardic. But there is a Sephardic rationalist tradition, which, I mean, the Rambam was hundreds of years before modernity. But in a sense, I mean, how many? Well, we have his teshuvot, and frankly, in the Perush Mishnayot, like he does tell stories and mashals and stuff like that, but he
doesn't negate the narrative. I mean, it's necessary.
Yeah, I think there is a rationalist modern reading of Rambam, which is too rationalist.
Mm-hmm.
And I dare say I am not aware. Well, no, actually, that's not true at all. The Ramchal wrote plays.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that this means that they negate or disagree with using narrative. I guess they're defining the limits of how it affects us, I guess, and for some reason they're very careful, maybe, or the Rambam for sure, maybe the Ramchal. This is also what he's saying of not using these stories, these elements, is something that defines our halacha for whatever reason. They thought that was important to do.
I think what happened was that the Ramchal, especially, I mean, now that I think of it, Like the fact we like the yeshivish world is so well. First of all, was down on the Ramchal to begin with, but was down especially like recently. People have started putting on productions of the Ramchal's plays, but that's like definitely less than 30 years.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Right? Like Beit Yaakov's have started putting on Ramchal plays and stuff, which means the men can't go see it, watch it anyway. But I think actually Maimonides and the Ramchal both had the correct orientation, but we have interpreted them in a very modernist way, which I think is actually bad.
You make me want to. So I bought this book that it was a little harder to read. I mean, obviously, than I thought, but it's a book that goes through. So the Rambam said that one day he would write. He would walk through the midrashim and the different categories of midrashim, and he would say, like, this is how we use them, right? Some midrashim are more. Some of them we define as more literal. Some of them are not, right? So I think it's the Rambam said that he would do that, but he never did. But his son, Avram ben Rambam, tried to create something like that based on his father when he taught him. So I have a translation of that, and he goes through that. If you want to wait for a second, I can bring it.
Translation to Hebrew or to English?
English.
Wow. Did he write it in Hebrew or did he write it in?
I think, you know what? It might be in Hebrew and English. Give me just a second. Let me grab it. Let me grab it.
I'm guessing he would have written it in Judeo-Arabic.
Maybe. Let's see.
Yeah, those are big shoes to fill when your father's the Rambam. He never quite, Rabbeinu Avraham ben Harambam never quite received the same respect as his father.
Okay, so right, so this is what it's.
Chazal.
Understanding Chazal, yeah.
Okay. Does it say if it was originally written in Judeo-Arabic or in Hebrew?
So this is just a chapter from Kifayat El Abidin, so probably, yeah.
Yeah.
המספיק לעבודה השם, comprehensive guide for the sermons, right? מאמר על הדרשות ועל האגדות.
Yeah, so he must have written it in Judeo-Arabic.
He did, yeah, for sure. Yeah. But anyway, so he walks through here, right? Introduction, the need for proper guidance in the study of Midrashim and Agadot, conviction and proper perception, the 5 categories of exegesis, the 4 types of narratives. And he talks about when it's obviously exaggerated, like Moshe's 10 stories.
10 cubits, right, yeah.
Right, then we treat it in a certain way. But when it's not, it might be in different categories. I should read it again. But anyway, this is something that I know.
Yeah, okay. We got a whole paragraph into this chapter. כי הנה אחר שכבר התאמת אצל האדם חובת הנקיות והצורך בו. So after a person who fully realizes, it becomes real to him, truthful to him, that he has an obligation and a need for cleanliness. אחר שכבר השיג הזהירות זריזות במה שנתעסק בדרכי כניעתן, that after he has achieved watchfulness and zealousness in how he has occupied himself in the ways of acquiring them, והתרחק ממפסידיהם, and he has distance himself from those things which take him away from it. הנה לא ישארו לו עתה ikuvim leknot hanekiyut. He will not have any more obstacles keeping him from acquiring cleanliness. Ela yediat hadiktukim asher b'mitzvot. Other than understanding the details of the various mitzvot. Kedei sheyuchal lezaher b'chulam, so that he would be able to be careful about all of them. ועל כן, הנה צריך לו בהכרח ידיעת ההלכות על בוריים. He would therefore need to necessarily know the Jewish law down to its very depths. לדעת ענפי המצוות עד היכן הם מגיעים, to know how far the branches of the commandments reach. וגם לפי שהשכחה מצויה בדברים הדקים האלה, and since it is easy to forget these small matters, הנה תצטרך לו התמדת הקריאה בספרים המבארים אלה הדקדוקים. He needs to spend all of his time reading the books that clarify these details. למען חדש בשכלו זכירתם, in order to renew in his mind their memory, ואז ודאי שיתעורר לקיימם, and therefore he will be naturally awakened to keep them.
So he's talking about how, he's talking about just how you need to keep reading in order to make sure that
constantly reminding yourself of the details of the various mitzvot.
It's interesting because, I mean, didn't we say that Talmud Torah מביא לידי זהירות, זהירות מביא לידי זריזות?
Okay, but
I would assume
this is he's talking more in terms of chazara and studying things like the codes, like Kitzur Shulchan Aruch or Chofetz Chaim or Mishnah Berurah or whatever it is, right? To see the details, right? So at the beginning, I mean, he seems to be saying, you have to awaken yourself to care and to, but eventually, once you're reaching a level of nikiyut, then you have to remind yourself of the details.
Yeah. Okay.
Got it? וכן בעניין המידות מוכרחת לו קריאת מאמרי המוסר לקדמונים או לאחרונים, right? And so with regards to his attributes, his characteristics, he needs to study the ethical teachings, whether they be of the earlier sages or the later sages. And usually when we refer to the Achronim, we refer to people of our current age. כי פעמים רבות, אפילו אחר שיקבע האדם בעצמו להיות מן המדקדקים הנקיים, because there are many times when a person, he sets himself to be into all of the details of cleanliness, אפשר לו שישעם בפרטים, it's possible that he will transgress in a detail, מפני שלא הגיע ידיעתו בהם, because he has not reached that level of understanding the very details of it. כי אין אדם נולד חכם, person is not born wise, ואי אפשר לו לדעת את הכל, and it's impossible for a person to know everything, אך בקריאת הדברים יתעורר במה שלא ידע. But through reading these things, he will be awakened to those that he did not know. ויתבונן במה שלא השכיל מתחילה, and he will contemplate those things which he did not grasp himself at the beginning. ואפילו במה שלא ימצא בספרים עצמם, and even those things which are not written in those books themselves, כי בהיות זכלו נאור על הדבר, when he awakens himself to these things, הולך ומשגיח הוא על כל הצדדים וממציא עניינים חדשים ממקור האמת. Right? He's going to contemplate it, he's going to think about it, and he's going to start understanding the various details of it, the various sides of it, from even new things from the source of all truth.
Right, he will bring chidush, like he will bring new things. He might have a new context that hasn't been considered necessarily specifically, so he would be able to.
Yeah. What's going to be with AI? The Omna, however,
Chezi's getting excited right now about this. Chezi's getting excited about this paragraph. I feel
Chezi is very excited about all of this stuff. Yes. The Omna, however, mafsidei hamidah hazot, those who do not have this attribute, hine hem kol mafsidei hazehirut. The people who don't have this, actually, what keeps a person from cleanliness is the same thing that would keep a person from carefulness, watchfulness. V'nosaf alehem chesron habekiyut b'yediat hadinim. But one more thing is not having an expertise in knowing all of the laws, or musarim, or the various aspects of ethics. Kemoshe katavti, like I wrote, ukuvar amru zal, like our sages said, v'lo am haaretz chasid, that a common man, one who does not busy himself to become a scholar, is never going to be pious. Because if you don't actually know, then it's not possible for you to perform according to what should be. And so they said in the Talmud Kiddushin, Talmud Gadol shemevi le'edeim ha'amaseh. The study of Torah is great because it brings a person to actually keep the Torah. Wow, that was a very short chapter. You are muted.
Wow, I said wow, but was it one attribute basically? So it was talking about just about the midah of being able to really understand or read through doing the chazara and all the details.
I guess so. I mean, that was the entire chapter. It took us 15 minutes.
Wow.
Should I keep on going, or you want to go?
No, that's good.
Okay. So, which is
that's me actually.
Are you going, or am I going?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
בביאור מידת הפרישות. So this is, we're talking about the next level, and the next level is called separation.
Yeah. This is where the word Pharisee comes from, actually.
פרישות, the פרושים.
Yeah.
Right. הפרישות היא תחילת החסידות. Separation is the beginning of piousness. Piety. ותראה כל מה שביארנו עד עתה. Everything you will see, that everything we spoke about until now, הוא מה שמצטרך על האדם להיות צדיק. Is everything that a person needs in order to become a righteous person, a tzaddik. ומכאן ולהלאה הוא לשיהיה חסיד. And anything from now until the end of the book is the levels to make a person into a pious person. So you have tzaddik, and then you have a higher level of being pious.
Yeah.
ונמצא הפרישות עם החסידות, הוא כמו הזהירות עם הזריזות. And we will see that the relationship between separation and piety is the same relationship between zehut, which we say is watchfulness, and zeal. שזה בסור מרע, וזה בעשה טוב. That one of them is about removing yourself from transgression, from evil, and the other thing deals with doing good, right? So watchfulness, removing yourself from evil, zeal, doing good. So I guess prishut is removing yourself from evil, and piety is doing good. והנה כלל הפרישות ומה שאמרו זיכרונם לברכה יבמות. הנה the general principle of separation is what our sages said in a Talmud. קדש עצמך במותר לך. Sanctify yourself in what is permitted to you. וזאת היא הוראתה של המילה עצמה, פרישות. And this is also the directive of the word separation itself. רוצה לומר, להיות פורש ומרחיק עצמו מן הדבר. So that is to say that פורש, one that separates himself, removes himself from the thing. Can you go back up a little bit just a second? He said, קדש עצמך ומותר לך. Okay, right. So פרישות is about the one that separates himself is about somebody that removes himself from min hadavar, from the thing,
from a thing,
והיינו, ושאוסר על עצמו דבר היתר, meaning that he prohibits himself from doing something that is not strictly prohibited. From something that is allowed.
Something that is actually permitted.
Permitted, yeah. והכוונה בזה לשלא יפגע באיסור עצמו. And the reason he does it that is so that he doesn't reach the transgression that might come out of it in some way. Right. So it's like a scientist in some way, like not even like a scientist, so more like a surgeon. I mean, like it's somebody that has such precision that he can go through healthy elements without negatively affecting them, right? And then
no, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
It's like somebody who, unlike a surgeon, is like, you know what? I'm gonna cut off the healthy tissue because I'm so afraid of the cancer. I'll take some of the healthy tissue with it.
Right, but it's the surgeon that is able to do it without destroying the whole organism, right? Because
I mean, this is part of the problem, pre-shoot, and this is one of the things that I actually tried to clarify with our Christian friends, that even within Judaism, like this idea of pre-shoot, it's a yerida l'tzorech aliyah.
Right, exactly.
Right? It's something that is not inherently good of itself. It is something that brings you to the good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. והעניין, and the thing is, שכל דבר שיוכל להיוולד ממנו גרמת רע, anything that could eventually lead into causing harm, אף על פי שעכשיו אינו גורם לו, even though right now it doesn't cause any harm, וכל שכן שאיננו רע ממש, and the thing itself is not bad in of itself, ירחק ויפרוש ממנו. The one that separates himself will move away from that thing, right? ויתבונן ותראה שיש כאן שלוש מדרגות. So you will look closely at this and we'll see that there are 3 levels to this. יש האיסורים עצמם. There are the things that are prohibited in themselves that we're supposed to separate ourselves from. Mm-hmm. And the second level, right? And the second level are the fences, ויש סיגותיהם וההם הגזרות והמשמרות שגזרו חכמינו זיכרונם לברכה על כל ישראל. And the second level, we have all the fences and the gzirot, the different decrees that our sages and the rabbis put together to remove us, to distance us from transgression.
Mm-hmm.
ויש, in the third level, הרחקים שמוטל על כל פרוש ופרוש לעשות. The third level is what is directed, or what should each one that separates himself should do. להיות כונס בתוך שלו ובונה גדרים לעצמו. He should be self-observant. And he should make his own fences. דיינו, this means, להניח מן ההיתרים עצמם, שלא נאסרו לכל ישראל, ולפרוש מהם כדי שיהיה מרוחק מן הרע ערכי גדול. To look at what is prohibited for the rest of Israel, and to selectively choose which one he will remove himself from, so that he can be even more distant from evil.
Yeah.
ואם תאמר, and if you say, מניין לנו להיות מוסיפים והולכים באסורים, how come we can add and we can bring about different prohibitions on top of ourselves? והרי חכמינו זיכרונם לברכה אמרו, and our sages said in the Talmud Yerushalmi, לא דייך מה שעשה תורה. Is it not enough for you what the Torah told you, prohibited you from? שאתה בא לאסור עליך דברים אחרים, that you go ahead and you prohibit even more things? והרי מה שראו חכמינו זיכרונם לברכה וחוכמתם, and we can say what our sages saw in their wisdom, שצריך לאסור ולעשות משמרת כבר עשוהו. You need to prohibit and to guard yourself.
No, we see that whatever needs to be guarded against, the Chachamim already did it. Who are you to come and suddenly add something?
כבר עשו, they already did it, right? Okay. ומה שהניחו להתר, and what they permitted, מפני שראו היותו ראוי להתר ולא לאסור. They saw it as proper to do and not to prohibit. Right? So going back to our question, why are we bringing these prohibitions on top of ourselves? ולמה נחדש את הגזירות אשר לא ראויים לגזור אותם? Why are we bringing these directives on ourselves? ועוד שאין גבול לדבר הזה, and even moreover, there's absolutely no
limiting principle.
There's no limiting principle to this.
Yeah.
No limit to this. ונמצא אם כן האדם שומם ומעונה ולא נהנה מהעולם כלל. And because of this, we might have somebody that is all by himself, shomim, shmama. It's like alone in the desert, in this deserted place, and meoneh, and he's afflicted, and velo neneh, and he doesn't enjoy anything from the world at all. וחכמינו זיכרונם לברכה אמרו, and our sages said in Talmud Yerushalmi, שעתיד אדם לתת דין לפני המקום, that in the future, in the world to come, man is going to give an account.
Held accountable for.
He will be held accountable, and he will give an accounting for על כל מה שראו עיניו ולא רצה לאכול ממנו. אף על פי שהיה מותר לו והיה יכול. He will need to give an accounting on everything that his eyes saw and he didn't want to eat, even though it was permitted for him to eat. ואסמכו אקרא.
They put this on a verse in the Bible.
Is that
to lean on?
Right, yeah. They spoke about this verse from Kohelet, from Ecclesiastes. וכל אשר שאלו עיניי לא עצלתי מהם. And everything that my eyes questioned, pursued, asked for, I did not remove her. I did not.
I was not.
Atzilut, right? I did not.
I thought it comes from being lazy.
Lazy with an ayin. With an ayin. Not deprive them. Yeah. Right. I would not separate from them or deprive them from.
Yeah, my ayins and my olives don't always stay correct.
Right. So in Kohelet, he says, yeah, everything that my eyes asked for, I did not deprive them from, which is very interesting, very weird. Atshuvai, the answer is, כי הפרישות ודאי צריך ומוכרח, והזהירו עליו חכמינו זיכרונם לברכה. The answer is that, of course, separation is necessary. And our sages even warned or guided us about this, told us about this. ומה שנאמר בתורת כהנים. What is תורת כהנים?
תורת כהנים, I want to say...
ויקרא, that's what it means, right?
No, תורת כהנים, I think is let me see.
Maybe, but he brings the same numbering there, 19:2. I mean, it could be, right? Vayikra is
oh, okay. So apparently, it's one of the ways that
it's referred to.
Yeah. Interesting. In rabbinic sources, the Talmud says that priests are presumed to be knowledgeable, b'nei de'ah, regarding the Torah, while members of the tribe of Levi, to which priests belong, can frequently give halachic instruction even in their youth. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so I guess it's one of the ways of referring to Vayikra.
Mm-hmm. So what did they say over there?
Where were we?
That's a good question.
We were here.
פרושים תהיו. זה שנאמר קדושים תהיו. פרושים תהיו. Did it say both of those or just?
No, it says be holy, and they
had you shall be
plain, be a parush, be somebody who sets himself apart.
Right. So this is what it says in Vayikra. Odamu betanit. They also said in the Talmud, כל היושב בתענית נקרא קדוש, קל וחומר מנזיר. Anyone that is fasting, is doing a fast, ta'anit, is called holy. And
you learn this a fortiori, kal v'chomer, gets translated a fortiori.
Right, but what is minazir? Like even more so a nazir, or even more so from like?
No, we learn from the din of a nazir, right? That a person who
okay,
right,
you learn kal v'chomer minazir.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Make this inference from the case of nazir. Interesting. Odamru, they also spoke in Pesikta. Our sages also said, Tzaddik ochel leseva nafsho. A righteous person eats to satiate his soul. Ze Chizkiyahu melech Yehuda. This is the king of Judah, Chizkiyahu. אמרו עליו ששתי אוגדות של ירק וליטרה של בשר היו מעלים לפניו בכל יום. It was said about him that they brought him two baskets of vegetables and a
whatever the litra is.
And 10 pounds of meat.
Okay.
Every day. והיו ישראל מלעיגין ואומרים זה מלך. And all of Israel would look at him and would say, "This is a king." I'm assuming because he ate so much.
I guess.
I mean, it sounds like a lot.
Yeah, I'm guessing a liter of meat is a lot.
I'm guessing that the implication here is that it's a lot. Okay, but Sova Nafsho, but he does this to satiate his soul, not his body.
Lo yada, I don't know enough about this.
I mean, it just reminds me, I guess, is it Rava in the Talmud that eats steak and drinks wine before he starts learning Torah? Those are the things that he does, not because he does it for hedonistic reasons or whatever. He does it. This is to make him a better Torah scholar.
I guess. I don't know.
I can't remember if it was Rava or somebody else, but anyway.
I don't know.
They also said in Ktuvot, which is this the Talmud?
Yeah.
Berabenu HaKadosh, it was said about Judah the prince, Yehuda Hanasi, שבשעת מיתתו זקף 10 אצבעותיו ואמר, that when he was on his deathbed, he raised his 10 fingers and he said, גלוי וידוע לפניך שלא נהניתי מן העולם הזה אפילו באצבע קטנה שלי. It should be clear and known to everybody.
No, God, before God.
Oh, that's true. It should be.
It is known.
It is known before you, God, that I did not enjoy. That I did not take pleasure from this world of even in my pinky finger. Yeah. Right, and so I guess we would clarify. Judah the prince was a very rich person, so him not saying that, right? So
he was known for, even though he was a very rich person, he supposedly, I mean, he lived lavishly. He was a very rich person, but he was also known that he only did it for Shloshem Shamayim.
Right. Odamru, they also said in
Hana debate Eliyahu.
I almost got there. I thought about it. I was trying to construct it. In Tanat דבי-אליהו, עד שאדם מתפלל על דברי תורה שיכנסו בתוך מעייו, בתוך מעייו, יתפלל על אכילה ושתייה שלא ייכנסו בתוך מעייו. Let's think about this. עד שאדם מתפלל, before a man prays the words of the Torah enter his innards, he should first pray that food and drink not enter them. I mean, I know that maybe it says in a Shulchan Aruch, right? You shouldn't eat before you pray, unless it's like a necessity.
Yeah, I mean, he's bringing different things from different places, right? In certain places, you can find arguments why you should be very careful, and in other places, there are arguments why you shouldn't take it too far. And he's bringing the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't actually know all of these various things because, let's face it, these days we don't have too many people who are complaining about about what you know. Yeah. Most rabbis are mostly talking about don't be so hard on yourself, etc., etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. Right, it's a pendulum swing of sorts. אין כל מאמרים מורים בפירוש צורך הפרישות והחובה בו. So all of these tidbits that we just gave clearly tell us about prishut, about separation, and the necessity of it. אמנם על כל פנים צריכים אנחנו לתרץ המאמרים אמורים הפך לזה. However, we also need to make sure that we explain all of the sources that point to the opposite of this, of Prishut. Right. So I mean, okay. So he was bringing all these things. So he was sure. Yeah, I guess it was. It's kind of odd. I mean, I'm trying to think. Maybe I just need to sit on it as well. Like the stories that he shared about Rabbeinu HaKadosh, about Judah the Prince, and Chizkiyahu.
Those were all supposedly, I mean, I don't know the actual stories except the one with Rabbeinu HaKadosh, but those were all stories of people, of rabbis, of great people showing themselves to be parshanim, to be people who did sanctify themselves and didn't just enjoy everything.
Interesting. So yeah, I don't understand the story of Chizkiyahu.
Yeah, I don't know the details of that story.
Maybe it's less. Maybe then it's less.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm first of all, I'm guessing he might explain it here, but even the story with Rabbeinu HaKadosh, right? Like the story is, he was a very wealthy man, and he always he did Shabbat, and but even in his enjoyment of everything he had, he still was able to say, there's a reason we call him Rabbeinu HaKadosh, right? Because he was able to lift up his hands and say that everything I did was just for Torah, was just for sanctity and godliness.
Yeah. Okay, so ach העניין hu. The thing is, כי ודאי חילוקים רבים ועיקרים יש בדבר. Obviously, there are various disagreements and principles connected to these things. יש פרישות שנצטווינו בו. There is separation that we were commanded to do. ויש פרישות שהוזהרנו עליו לבלתי אכשל בו. ייכשל בו. And there is the kind of separation that we were warned about, because we might fail in doing so.
But we might stumble by doing so.
Right, you might stumble by doing so. והוא מה שאמר שלמה המלך עליו השלום in Kohelet. And this is what King Solomon said in Ecclesiastes. אל תהיה צדיק הרבה. Do not be overly righteous. ונבאר עתה פרישות הטוב. And now we will define the good kind of separation. ונאמר, כי הנה אחר שהתבאר לנו היות כל ענייני העולם ניסיונות לאדם. First we will say that after we have explained that all of the dealings of this world are actually trials for man, given by God. וכמו שכתבנו כבר למעלה הוכחנו, and we and like we הוכחנו, and like we wrote,
like we proved,
wrote and proved before בראיות, והתאמת לנו גם כן רוב חולשת האדם וקרבת דעתו אל הרעות. And we looked at the different evidence and validated the fact that the nature of man is weak by nature, and that his thought, his desire is towards that he has a desire towards bad things, or things that could cause harm. יתברר בכך שכל מה שיוכל האדם להימלט מהעניינים האלו ראוי שיעשהו. We have also agreed, it was clear to us, that everything that a person could do in order to escape these things, it is fitting for him to do. כדי שיהיה נשמר יותר מן הרעה אשר ברגליהם. so that he would keep himself far from the evil that comes out of these things. So this reminds me of a story. I don't know if you told this story, but I vaguely remember it. So if you told it, it'll be good if you retell it. But there's some vort or whatever about a group of students in a yeshiva, and it's like a bet midrash, and there's different classes, and they're in a class, and they're making a commotion, and they have. I'm trying to remember this as I'm talking about it, and they have a fish.
Story. Yeah,
they have a fish on the table, and
you're talking about the fish story.
The fish story. Right, and
the story is that the Rosh Yeshiva walks into, and I've heard it from various things. Funny enough, Father Stephen told me he tells this story a lot.
Right.
A rabbi walks into the cafeteria of the yeshiva, and he sees one of the students there is just gorging himself with fish.
Well, that might be different, actually.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no, do you love fish? Is that the story?
Yeah.
No, that's a different story.
Different story. Okay.
Okay, so the story is that the rabbi walks into the bit midrash, and there's a class, and he sees a bunch of students, and they're standing there, and they're looking at this dead fish, and it stinks up the whole place.
Oh.
And he goes to, he doesn't understand what's happening, so he goes to their rabbi, to their teacher, and he asks them, what's going on? I don't understand this. I'm in this bed midrash. The whole place stinks. Can't learn anything. So the teacher says, I don't know, but let's ask him. And he goes to the students, and he asks them, why are you standing in front of this table looking at a dead fish? And they're saying, we're trying to understand the concept of death, or we're learning the Gemara that talks about this death. So this is what we're doing. Yeah. So the teacher tells the rabbi that complained, what do you want me to do? They're trying to, they have a way, they need to learn about something. This is the way to do it. So let them do it. What can we do? Something like that. There's probably a better punchline to this, but that's basically the story. But the idea is that, yes, so anything that helps you understand something better and it does good, or that removes you from bad, might be valid, you know?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, I guess, kind of like memento mori, right? There are things which remind you of death, remind you, like, you sometimes look at things that are ugly in order to remind you of something. Yeah. Right.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to do with that specifically. I mean, it's also the idea of chalomot, right? Like, are you supposed to, if you have a bad dream, and it says that you will be able to, if you do this thing, you won't lose all of your money, and then you go to a rabbi and said, should I listen to this dream, or this is witchcraft? So the rabbi asks you, what does it tell you to do? And you tell him, the dream told me to be really nice to my mother. So the rabbi will tell you, just be really nice to your mother. Yeah, follow the dream, whatever. If it tells you to do a mitzvah, then we're okay with it. We'll listen to the dream. But if it tells you anything else,
yeah.
So.
Okay, weiter.
Okay, right, we went to, כי הנה אין לך תענוג עולמי, אשר לא יימשך אחריו איזה חטא בעקבו. So anything, like we said, anything that will help you remove yourself or distance you from something that does harm is valid, because we know that anything in the world anything having to do with worldly pleasure will always have some kind of sin or level of sin following it. Derech mashal. So we will give a metaphor for this. המאכל והמשתה, כשניקו מכל איסורי האכילה, הנה מותרים הם. The food items and the drinks that do not have anything to do with prohibited items, right? Non-kosher or whatever kind of drinks that you cannot drink. They are permitted, omnam. However, milui hakeres moshech acharav prikat ha'ol. Filling your belly, literally filling your keres is like a pot belly. Filling your pot belly brings from it laziness and to removing yourself
rebellion. Prikat all is rebellion.
Rebellion. Prikat all. Right. What's the word for rebels?
I mean, all is a yoke. So prikat all means to take off the yoke of.
Right. Olelut.
Right? Oh, olelut.
Yeah. Olelut. Right. That's kind of like a modern Hebrew word. That's an interesting. Etymology. Okay. ומשתה היין מושך אחריו, and going to parties or wine parties, מושך אחריו הזנות ושאר דברים רעים. Also brings from it for promiscuity and other evil things. כל שכן, שבהיות האדם מרגיל עצמו לשובע מאכילה ושתייה. Moreover, when a person habituates himself to be satiated at all times, he has enough food, he has enough to drink. It's probably a more and more of a modern problem, right? Whenever, even for one time, he can't have the lunch pack that he wants or the protein dinner that he always has, then it will hurt him very much and he will feel it. Yeah. Actually, so this reminds me, I don't know how long this chapter, we'll probably have to cut it at some point, but you can never tell no to attention, I guess, right?
Well, yeah. we tried, we started it. Yeah, so 13. Yeah.
We can continue, but I just wanted to continue a little bit, but I just wanted to say what I was going to say. I think it was 20. Right. Right? He will feel it. So this reminds me of the parasha that we just read about biblical leprosy, tzarat.
Mm-hmm.
And right, there's this paradox in this affliction that it's obviously like when you do it, it means that you did something inappropriate. But also, if it happens to you, then you are being touched by God. You have a sensitivity. In some way, you're at a higher level because you have this. It's a sign that you're at a higher level because you were touched, you were sensitive enough that it affects you, and then you need to correct yourself. Right? You understand? Is that clear?
I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to say.
Right. So Miriam had tzarat, right? And I think it says somewhere that we have a lot of
examples. She was at the level to get tzarat because she spoke. Yeah.
Right. And that's why it's called nega. Because God actually touches you, right? You're
right. Yeah.
So you're at a high enough level that God touches you, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
So this reminds me of this, of how in one way you can be at a high, it's somewhat a high level, or you could sometimes when you're at the high level, or what you perceive as a high level, right? It actually makes you more sensitive to a small bit of noise, right? So if you're just, if you have enough food so that you eat every day and you eat 3 meals every day, if you miss even one thing, it affects you way more than if you, obviously, if you did not have the privilege to have that. So I guess it's kind of like a paradox of sorts. And that's, I think it's kind of an interesting discussion about, right? We have the Yeridat Dorot, that in each generation we're less worthy in some sense, but also we have way more, like we were standing on the shoulders of giants.
Right. So there's Yeridat Dorot and Ma'alat Ha'olam, right?
Right. So so we have this. It's kind of like something to grapple with.
Yeah, the world, the world is constantly being refined, and it's been refined to a place where, I mean, Baruch Hashem, there isn't the idolatry and murder and everything that there used to be, but at the same time, yeah, there's been Yeridat Hadorot because we're further and further away from Mount Sinai.
Right. Okay.
Two more, we'll stop at 22.
Okay. ומפני זה נמצא הוא מכניס עצמו בתוקף עמל הסחורה והגיעת הקניין לשתהיה שולחנו ארוחה כרצונו. מפני זה נמצא בתוקף עמל הסחורה. So that he finds, so if he is satiated, can you go back up?
Because of this, because he gets disturbed, if he doesn't have a little thing, therefore he's so wrapped up in his work.
Right, so he's so sensitive, he's so wrapped that he makes sure that he deals with all his property and that he makes sure that his Igyata Kinyan, that he deals and worries about his possession, and he makes sure that his table is set, which is an interesting metaphor here. כרצונו, ומשם נמשך אל העוול והגזל. And from here, because he's so disturbed and preoccupied in all of this worldly matters and material concerns, then he moves into transgression and thievery.
Yeah.
ומשם אל השבועות. And from there, he goes and he also gives false oaths.
Yeah.
וכל שאר החטאים הבאים אחרי זה, and all the transgressions that will come after that. ומסיר עצמו מן העבודה ומן התורה ומן התפילה. And he removes himself from avodah, from worship, ומן התורה, and from Torah, and from prayer. מה שהיה נפטר מכל זה, אם מתחילתו לא משך עצמו בהנאות האלה. And he would have not have had to think about all these things or deal with those things if he was not at the beginning drawn into these desires and into these pleasures.
Yeah. And I am actually going to put the link into the chat, so next time it'll be easy to find it. There we go.
Oh, cool. I think there should be in the description, by the way.
But that's not the exact place we're at.
Yeah. I can work on that, maybe.
Okay. Well, here it is. So next time it'll be easy. And Jan God is with us. Yes. Genius move. Okay.
Beautiful.
We'll start from here.
22, right?
Yeah. I think so. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was either 21 or 22.
There we go. 22.
22. Interesting stuff. We're going to start at chapter 13?
13, 22. Yeah.
That's a joke.
Okay.
Cool.
We're all good.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. Later.
Yeah.